Okay. So as of now, we have completed the roles part, roles-based access model. What else? The chart of implementation, enterprise structure, security model. Okay, these two things we have completed. We have seen how to create legal entities and business units. Okay, so someone mentioned about the implementation project last time. Okay, so let's see how to create an implementation project in this system first. Then how to provide data access for users. This we are going to cover today. Then reference data sets in detail, and then chart of account. Okay, so this is going to be the agenda for today's session. Okay, so this is the system. Now you have I have clicked on setup and maintenance. I will again show you. Okay, then you can go to financials. Now for the implementation project. Okay, so just to give you a little heads up on implementation project. So last time I mentioned this thing, that this is not a mandatory setup. Okay, this is just to create a project like Microsoft project, wherein you can track your activities, you can assign different tasks to your team members. So a project manager who is doing the implementation, you know, that person can create this implementation project, you know, which will assist him to track the project. So all the different, you know, tasks and activities for all different modules and offerings you can do from here. Okay, go to financials, in the offerings, financials, and now we have all the functional areas, and then we can do the setups which we are using. Now on the right side, if you see, there is an icon. You just click, and then we have manage implementation project. Okay, so these are all the implementation projects, so don't get confused. In real world, it's not going to be so many. Most likely 1 or 2 implementation projects are going to be there. Okay, so let's create our own implementation project. So the moment I clicked on new, it has created automatically a new implementation project by 23. So we can give any name. For example, we can give it RAL implementation project, right? So this is assigned to Noah Miller. Let's say Noah Miller is the project manager. Okay, so this is the start date, finish date if you want to give. Next. So this task is little heavy. So system will be little slow because it is going to compile lots of, you know, things in this task. So basically here in the implementation project, what we are going to do, we are going to select, you know, those offerings, those modules, you know, which are going to be the part of our implementation. For example, for the company for which we are doing the implementation. So these are all this is the exhaustive list of all the offerings. So let's say financials. Okay, so this is one area where we want to implement. So we are going to include financials related task. We will enable them. So financials is one of the offerings which is going to be a part of our implementation project. Okay, so let's say we have taken financials. Apart from financials, let's say procurement. Procurement is also a part of our implementation for which we are creating this implementation project. So we will enable procurement related areas. Invoice processing, supplier incentive, supplier portal, sourcing. Okay, fine. So point here is that as per the business requirement, we are going to include all those offerings. So let's say product management. So if we require product management, we are going to implement product management, then we are going to include that as well. So it's a complete list of all the offerings. So let's say pertinent is financials and procurement. So we have enabled financials and procurement. That's it. And now we will save and open project. So this will take a few seconds and our implementation project will be created. So now thing is, we can do the respective setups from implementation project also, or from the form, which I just showed you the previous window. So it is one and the same thing. Don't get confused. Implementation project also, you will see the same form, the same task, and outside implementation project also, you can navigate and you can do the respective setups. So implementation project is basically to track a project. So now the system will create a project for you, wherein you can provide, timelines and, a roadmap to your project. Okay, by this date, this task should be completed. So, and this task is assigned to this team member. So a project manager can track the project the same we do in Microsoft projects, right? It will take few seconds. Okay, anyone can answer me. We are in setup and maintenance. So which role provides us the access to setup and maintenance? FSM. Can anyone answer me?
Application Implementation Manager.
Okay, very good. And which role gives us the access of security console, system admin?
IT Security Manager.
Yes, ITSM. Very good. Great. So this is getting completed. So, the next task is manage data access for users. So this is also very important. So we have seen, different type of roles, job roles, abstract roles. Now, these job roles, when they combine with the entities, for example, a business unit or a ledger or inventory org, it becomes actually a access. For example, okay, it is still in process. So for example, we have a job role, accounts payable supervisor. Okay. Now we have, let's say we have created 3 business unit. Okay, BU Delhi, BU Mumbai, and BU Ahmedabad. Right? Now, this job role, account payable supervisor, this job role, user plus job role plus security context value, which in this case is going to be BU, let's say Delhi. This combination will actually work in the system. So when we say this user Noah Miller is having this job role, which is account payable supervisor, and this account payable supervisor, we are giving a value BU Delhi in the security context. So now for this business unit Delhi, This user can create any invoice, can create any payment, whatever privileges are there in this job role. This user can do all those activities in this role for this BU. So this is called manage data access for users. This is something very, very important. Still in process. It takes time. All right. So this is very, very important. And earlier it used to be like data role. The terminology was data role. Data role. So let's say we have same ways, like we have one ledger. We have multiple ledgers, and one of the ledger is, let's say, India ledger. Okay, so we want only this Noah Miller should have only access to only one ledger. So we will have this job role, let's say general accountant. This is a GL role. Okay, and we are going to provide security context value, which will be India ledger on the form, which means now Noah Miller in this particular role, job role, general accountant role, can do any activity which is there for India ledger. Let's say Noah Miller creates a journal. So that journal now can be accessed for India ledger. So this form is very, very important. This activity is very, very important, which whenever you create a new business unit or ledger or inventory or anything, you have to provide that entity access to that user through a job role. Okay. Look, today we are facing some issues also in this instance. Anyways, let's see. So this is very simple, and once this is done, it will show you a form wherein this implementation project is created with some names and all, wherein you can put your team member's name and all. Okay, let me click on cancel. It is taking too much time.
So, Manish, I will suggest if you can open a new window, then I think we can continue the rest of the.
And it is getting hanged actually, Rahul. I was doing.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Fine. They will just cancel that process. So if we see in this manage implementation, let's see if this system has created our implementation project or not. Okay, fine. So this is RL implementation project. It is there. If I click, so this is the implementation project, guys. So we have selected financials and procurement. If you see, so this is our implementation project. Okay, now here, assign task status is assigned to, so like we have different, consultants in the team. So you can play around with this. So you can assign the task to, respective members in the financials, in the procurement. Let's say we have procurement consultant, we have multiple finance consultant. So financials. Now, don't get confused. All these tasks which are there in the implementation project, actually they are the same task which was on the previous form, where we selected financials and required task and everything. Okay. So let's say in financials, so here, we can assign this task to the users. So this is basically a project management activity, which the project manager generally, does. So from the project perspective, it's a tracking, part wherein you create an implementation project and do all those activities. Okay. So like assigned, due date, completed status, everything is there. So you can just play around with this. Okay, guys, one more thing, we are planning to give you the instance, but before that, we are just taking into consideration that which all guys are very serious. So we'll let you know the process through which we can give you the access of instance as well. Okay, we'll let you know. So this is about implementation project. Okay. So here, whatever we are doing, the setups, it's the same thing. Don't get confused. In the implementation project also, it was the same task. Here also, it's the same task. If you go to financials, whatever we are having here, the same thing is coming in those forms in implementation project. Okay. Any question about implementation project, feel free to ask. Now, the second thing is manage data access for users. Okay. Now manage data access for users. We can type over here, we can search, and straight away we can go to the task. Other thing is, if you know the navigation. Okay. So organization structure, manage business unit data access. So it is one and the same thing. I will show you. So like here we have security context business unit. So here it could be any. You can see business unit, cost organization, data access set, blah, 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 ledger, legal entities, right? So now what we are going to do, let's say the name of our user is, now this form is very, very important. Let's say I put the name Noha Miller and I search. Now it will show me this user Noha Miller is having so many job roles and the security context values. Now this means Noha Miller here, account payables job role, is linked to France business unit, which means Noha Miller can do any payables related activity for this business unit. Same, this job role is linked to RAL Info BU. So like this, all the job roles, they are linked to the respective business units, legal entities, or ledger. So on this form, actually, you give the access of different entities to a job role. Job role itself will not work. You have to link an entity with that job role. Please try to understand. Now, for example, let's say if I click on add Noha Miller. Okay. Let's say I have chosen account payable supervisor, security context business unit. Now here, all those BUs will come, which are not assigned to Noha Miller. For example, if I take this AMU BU1, Amul BU1, save and close. Now, Noha Miller has access of Amul business unit 1 with respect to this job role. So whatever privileges are there in this job role, now they are applicable for this particular business unit. Guys, you are getting my point? This is very, very important. This will be applicable for all the new business units and job roles. If you have given a job role to a user, and if you're not doing this activity, that user will not have access actually. He won't be able to create any transactions. So when you have users in the company, so these users are given job roles and then the respective access of the business units or ledger or legal entities through this form. So that the compliance part, the control part is there. Basically, you are only giving the access of those offices in real terms wherein it is required. So let's say we have a model. Noah Miller, he is a senior accountant. Okay. So let's say we have two ledgers. One is India Ledger 1 and the other is India Ledger 2. So this senior accountant Noah Miller should only be given access to India Ledger 1. So what we will do? So there is senior accountant and then we have a job role, accountant. So this job role now will be given security context of India Ledger 1. Okay, we can see. Noah Miller. Let's take one GL role. You can see over here, all the job roles are coming. So these job roles at the time of creation of user, you have assigned all these job roles. So don't get confused. First of all, you have to assign a job role in the security console. And then here, you will link your job role with the security context value. You can see general accounting manager. Okay. Now here, we have data access set and intercompany organization. We click data access set. And then we have all our ledgers. So let's say if I give Italy secondary ledger, now Noah Miller has access to this ledger. So for all your different entities, you have to perform this task. Very, very important. Okay. So I believe this is now clear to you. Implementation project is done. Manage data access for users. We have completed. Okay. Now coming on to reference data sets. Guys, any question with respect to manage data access, please feel free to ask. Okay. Now coming on to reference data set. So yesterday we saw how to create a business unit and how to enable the business unit functions in a business unit. Okay. So when we were creating a business unit, so we were having an option. Either we can create a new reference data set or we can choose enterprise or common. Right. Just a second. Admit. So today we will see little details about RDS. Enterprise profile. Manage reference data set. So let's say we create a new reference data set. Test RDS. Let's say this is a new reference data set. Okay, code has to be in uppercase. Okay. Now this is a new reference data set. Okay. Now, what we are going to do, if we go to business unit set assignment, don't get confused. I will make the loop. Okay. So now here you can see for this, 01 US business unit. So here, for all the, what is reference data objects? A reference data set object is nothing but all the respective setups. Okay, so all the setups in your payables, receivables, fixed asset, for all the respective setups. Now in cloud, there is a concept of assigning them to a reference data set. So either you can link a setup with a reference data set by the name common, which means anyone can access to this particular reference data object, or you can give the name of your own RDS. This is just for the segregation if you want. All right. Now I will just show you how it works in the system. So let's say payment terms. Okay, so payment terms is one of the setup. Manage payment terms. Let's say we open one payment term. Now, if you see, now someone has created this payment term. Now, this payment term is assigned to different reference dataset codes. All right. So, which means all those business units for which this reference data is present, if a user is having access to that business unit and reference data set, that user will be able to see that payment term when creating an invoice. Little complex. For example, this NOHA is having access of this BU. Okay, and in this BU we have a AA1 RDS attached. So when NOHA will create an invoice, in the list of payment terms in the LOB, he or she can view this payment term, AA1 RDS. So this will get clear once we will go into the modules and we will do the setups. So as of now, just try to understand that reference data set is basically a setup wherein we link all the setups and configuration of respective modules with a reference data set. So basically, this concept is to reduce the redundancy. I will tell you what is the basic. Let's say there is one payment term. The name is 45 days, which means our company policy is that all our customers, they have to pay us in 45 days. If the person is paying in 30 days, discount of 5%. And this is RAL InfoSystems payment term. Okay. Now let's say RL is having 50 offices, and which means 50 business unit. Now for each and every business unit, you have to create this payment term. So 50 times you have to create payment terms in the system in EBS R12. But now what you can do, you can create 45 days only for one time, and you can assign it to the common RDS. So which means any user who is working in any BU can have access to this payment term. You don't have to create it 50 times. So this is one of the reason behind this RDS creation, RDS concept in this system. So little confusing initially, but when we are going to do the setups in different modules, I think then it will be clear for you.
So just want to add what Manish was trying to explain.
Yes, Rahul.
So for example, like what Manish shows, that accounts payable payment term, like 45 days. If that is common across the business, like if it is a global payment term, everybody can use it. Then you put it into as a common reference data set. Okay. So the common reference data set will allow it to share to the across the business units.
Right.
Okay, that's one thing. Suppose this 45 days payment term is only for specific location or geography for India, for example, and you have mapped it to a business unit, then you can restrict through the
Right.
reference data
Right.
set only to that particular business unit. It is not common. Okay.
Right.
So it is for restriction as well as for sharing. Okay.
Right.
Data partitioning of these elements, not only payment term, account receivable payment terms. There are a lot of master data setups like this, which you can share or restrict based on business unit. If required, I will show it in the system also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect, Rahul.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think now, Rahul, you can take up with the chart of accounts and anything else you want to show on the reference data sets. Please go ahead.
So let me try to
I'm unable.
consolidate. Yeah, please, can you share the screen
Yes. I'm just
for
giving
me?
you the rights. Now you are the host.
Okay.
Yeah.
So uh, let me share my screen. So let me try to show you the reference data set functionality in the system itself. Okay. So when I go to setup and maintenance, if I go to financials, application, the module or the application is financials. Organizational structure. So manage business unit data access uh, set. So I'm talking about this one. So I'll just click it. So what it is showing here is for this business unit 01 Apple US business unit, right? What are the reference data objects like? These are multiple master setups like customer account relationship or customer account site. What are the reference data set from which the data should come? So for example, if I talk about payables, so what it is currently showing is payables payment terms are common. Okay, so common data reference set will be referenced by this business unit. Okay. Now I will show this business unit what all payment terms it is showing. Okay, so if I go to the transaction, like for example, invoice creation here, and I will try to create an invoice here in this screen, and I will choose one business unit for which I am trying to book the invoice. So these are the payment terms which I am currently able to see, which is coming from the common reference data set. Okay. This is one thing. Now I will just try to change this to the specific data reference set and see what is the difference happening. Okay. So you are able to see all these payment terms and you can use them. This is coming because of the common reference data set which has been set up for this particular business unit. Okay. Now let's try to visualize. I will go again to setup and maintenance. Now, again, I will go to organizational structure. Manage business set assignment. And what I will do is for the pay bills payment term, for this, I will change the reference data set here. So I will choose this, for example, 01 Apple RDS, save and close. Now again, one more thing I will do is manage payment. So I have changed the reference set now for the payables payment term at the business unit level. Now I will show you one payment term whenever we are creating the payment terms, payables payment terms. For example, RAL, I have predefined one payment term. So I have assigned this payment term RAL 001 to this reference data set. Okay, 01 Apple RDS, which I have already attached to the my business unit. Okay, now let me try it out. The invoice transaction. What I am expecting that this RAL payment term should now be coming into the LOB, right? So if I say invoice, so fingers crossed. Let's try if that works. So you see RAL 001 now, these values are limited, right? RAL 001 has come now, right? So the inference, what the exercise which I shown you is, with the reference data set, you can restrict or share these values, the objects which we have seen in the screen earlier in the business unit assignment set. Okay. So you can play around whenever, if you have instance access, the common reference data sets and the specific to business unit reference data sets, what we can do, correct? So this is one thing I just want to show you. I hope you got this right. Now, before I go to the system again, let me try to summarize. So when we say chart of account structure and all, we actually landing into the general ledger application implementation, actually. Okay, so I just go through some slides before I try to show you in the system, the chart of account setup and all. So this is, so when you try to configure a general ledger application, these are the primary steps you have to do. So you have to create a chart of account. You have to create accounting calendar, enable currency. You have to have any standard accrual accounting method. Then you define your primary ledger. You assign legal entities, which we have created earlier. If you define your primary ledger, then you have to assign those legal entities to this primary ledger, specify ledger options, then review and submit accounting configuration and all. And you have to assign some roles so that the ledger will be accessed by that role. So the data access which Manish has shown, so you have to go with business unit or with primary ledger, all that, and role assignment and user assignment, so that the ledger book or the ledger should be accessed by the user, and then assign the data access set which we have, which Manish already shown. So this is the primary steps of general ledger configuration. So when we try to create financial reporting structure setup, this is nothing but your chart of account setup. Okay. So first you have to create your chart of account, then your calendar and currency that we will see in the system, right? I will just from the basic understanding of chart of account, what are the components of chart of account, I will try to explain it to you. So whenever we are trying to define a chart of account structure, okay, we will be defining the segments like the company, the cost center, the natural accounts. We will discuss this. So this will comprises of a chart of account structure. Then we will give some value sets assigned to the chart of account structure and chart of account structure instances. So value set is when we are defining company, right? How many company codes you will be defining, like one company code for US, one company code for India. If there are multiple legal entities, there can be one-to-one mapping for your company code. So that all come into your value set. Okay. And similarly for cost centers and departments like HR, then your finance, for your payable department, or for your cost centers, all that comes as a cost center segment, and you have multiple values around it. Okay. Then we comes to the segment labels. Segment labels are very, very important. How the system will understand that the segment which you have created into your chart of account structure has to behave specifically. For example, the segment company which I am creating in my chart of account structure is to behave like a balancing segment or a primary balancing segment. So when I say balancing segment is, if I am booking any transaction accounting entry I am creating through this chart of account, then that debit and credit for that company code should balance. Okay. So there are multiple balancing elements they have given. So more than one segment can have balancing segment. Then cost center. If you want to record any cost for a department, which segment you have defined your structure, but you have to direct to the system that this segment is to be treated as cost center. Okay. The third segment of your chart account to be treated as natural account. So natural account is like your in accounting terms are like ledger accounts, right? For purchasing you have one account, for asset you have one account, liability you have another account. So asset, liability, ownership accounts and all that stuff, so that you will label them as natural account. Then you have intercompany and management. These are only for reporting purposes you can use. So you, whenever you create a segment, you will label them, right? Then around the segment or chart of account, you have multiple security rules, cross validation. So one segment cannot be used across with another segment. So these are related to your security, cross validation and security rules that we will see in details. So that's what is all about chart of account components, right? So you just visualize this, grasp this. This is very, very important. This is one of the pillars apart from your organizational structure or your enterprise structure. From the finance point of view, chart of account structure is the most important structure. Okay. Because you will be doing, if you are going for implementation, there are primary two workshops, one for your enterprise structure, another workshop you will be doing for chart of account to decide what all segments the company should use. Okay. If that is fine, then let me go to the system and try to show you any existing structure first. Okay. So again, I will show you that if I go to financials, right? We have covered enterprise profile, legal structure, creating legal entities. Now I am coming into financial reporting structure. Okay. The financial reporting structure is starting with your chart of account structure, right? So I will go to the manage chart of account structure and try to search based on the application. So in the system, this chart of account structure comes under one of the key flex fields. Key flex fields are the key component of an application where you can create some structure, right? Multiple segment structure. So from in general ledger, this accounting flex field, this is the key flex field name under which you can create multiple accounting structures and deploy and use them. So under the key flex field, I am trying to create one chart of account structure. Okay. So as of now, I think there is a issue in the system, but I will try to explain it to you using the existing existing chart of account structure. So let me try if I can find some with US. I don't know, somebody has created this. Let me try to show this. I don't know if help. Okay. So this is the account structure. Somebody has decided that these many segments should be there in our accounting structure. The first segment is about company. Another segment is about department. Another is natural account, which we discussed. Somebody trying to book the financial transaction, the account entry with projects also. Then there is an intercompany segment, and these are future one and future two. So somebody wants to use currently, like they don't know. So it is better to have some additional segments when you define your chart of account structure, because in future somebody business wants to use it, then it is easily you can give your list of values or your value set assigned to this and start using these segments. So once you deploy your chart of account structure, it is not really very easy to modify this, or later on you cannot do like you add any other segment without any impact. So it will impact your existing transactions which you have booked. So it is very carefully designed item. Okay. So now suppose if I go here in this particular segment and try to edit this. So as I mentioned here, like somebody has defined this segment, and the value set which is assigned to it is company Usha, and this has been labeled as primary segment, balancing segment in the system. Okay, this is how you try to define your chart of account structure. So for every segment, you have a value set assigned, you have a segment label assigned. Okay, so this particular segment is for company code or company, which is assigned as segment 1. The value set is company Usha, and this has been labeled as primary balancing segment. Okay. Similarly, if I go to cost center department, like for example, department, and try to see what it is all about. So again, this is labeled as cost center, right? And the segment, the value set used is department Usha, right? So that's how you can. So in the next class, we will definitely show you creating the new accounting structure. But just I want to give you the glimpses how you can, how the this chart of account structure looks like. So that's similarly, like if you go to the another segment, which is accounts, this has been labeled as natural account, right? And it will have the qualification of asset, liability. So if you have a finance background, you will be aware that the accounts should be classified as asset account or a liability account or expense account. So similarly, once this segment is labeled as natural account, then when you create these values, like for this account in this value set, you will qualify those values as a asset account or a liability account that we will show. Okay. So this all we can show you right now. And so if I just show you some of the values uh, here. Okay. So I just tried to see one of the value sets here. Okay, this has been assigned into the our chart of account and manage values. So there is no value added. I can, if you want, we can add a value here. Like I don't know what is the validation and all. So if I try to create one asset account here, I can do it. Start date, end date, summary, no, allow postings. These are some of the activities. So I told you account type, right? Asset type, expense, liability, budgetary. So if I choose, I am trying to create a liability account here. Is it a third party control and all that we will discuss in detail. So I can create this value. Okay, in this value, and that value set is assigned to our chart of account. So uh, this is all about, as of now, the chart of account structure. There is one more concept of instance creation, right? Uh, that I will show, let you know separately, because instance and structure is something different. In EBS, there is no concept of a chart of account instance as such. But yes, in cloud, we can create multiple instances of a chart of account structure. So the use of that is the instances you can, like, you have a chart of account structure of a 10 segment, but you can create an instance of like only for 6 segments, and then you will assign it to your primary ledger. Okay, so remember, always instances are assigned to the ledger book or the primary ledger, not the structure. So whenever when we will go into the GL general ledger setups, and when we define ledgers, then you will see I will be assigning a instance, not the accounting structure. Okay. So I think that's all for now. It's too much for you. Whatever, please try to understand and grasp it and consolidate it. And then we will try to start with GL module next class, and step by step we will start with the chart of account setup and currency calendar and whatever steps I have just shown you, and then we will try to cover all this, right? Manish, anything else?
Hello. Yes,
Yeah,
Rahul.
Manish, I think that's enough for today. And then in the next class we will start with GL module, and then we will cover actual chart of account structure creation and all, and cover that.
Yes, Rahul. And just one thing probably we'll cover in the next session, all the values. So,
Yeah,
uh,
in that way we will, when we'll trying to create our own chart of account structure, we will.
yes, so we will have a
Mm,
recap of chart of account, and then we'll create the values, and
mm,
then we can come to the transactional part of GL.
correct.
Okay, sure, great.
Manish, one question.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. We discussed about this reference data set, right? So we have discussed we can use it to assign payment terms. Also, other than payment terms, where else we can use this RDS?
Okay.
So this is used in most of the setups, configuration, and master data area. So we will see that, Mohsin. For example, when we will cover our fixed asset, for example, so there we
Okay.
have depreciation methods. For example, so there we assign this RDS. Same ways for in
So
receivables. In
yeah, in
most of the
GL,
setups, we assign this.
so in GL only one place. It's payment terms we can call.
No,
We
So
can use like
Marcin, just see my screen now. Okay, this is what I told earlier. So if I go to manage business set assignments, right?
yes, sir.
So this is the list of objects where you can use this reference data set. This
Okay, okay,
can go through this, and these objects are related to different modules or applications. Okay, so all
okay,
this receivable accounting rules, receivable aging buckets, whatever objects you are seeing here, you can use it here. Payable payment terms, just for example, we have shown you here, but you can use this in all these objects.
Oh, clear, clear. Thank you so much, Rahul.
okay.